Welcome back to Things You Don't Know.
You're not going to believe us, ladies and gentlemen, but today we're talking about one of the most universal human needs and one of the strangest language categories we have.
That's right. It's the room where people go to pee.
Or poop.
Or regrettably vomit if you've had too many drinks and the day has really turned on you.
Oh, yeah, which is important because the bathroom has become the all-purpose emergency room of ordinary life.
And people have a ridiculous number of names for it.
We touched on some of this in our earlier episode on toilets, where we talked more about the fixture itself and gave a bit of the history around sanitation. Give that a listen when you get a chance.
Yes, that's a good one. But this time it's about the room name because apparently we looked at one awkward topic and thought, what the heck? Let's just narrow it down even further.
So, why so many names? Well, the basic reason is simple. People like indirect language around bodily functions.
So, Dr. Weaver, instead of coming out and saying exactly what we're doing, we're talking around it. We say we're stepping out, washing our hands, using the facilities, going to the little boys' room, or as our English cousins say, heading to the loo.
Yeah, we're kind of beating around the bush a little bit. Even though everybody knows what's happening, nobody hears, "Oh, I'm going to the restroom," and thinks, "Oh, finally a quiet place to lay down and reflect."
The language is about social comfort, not literal accuracy.
And once a polite term catches on, it can replace an older polite term, which then starts to sound old fashioned, too blunt, or even oddly formal.
Basically, it's just a rolling cycle of euphemism.
Yeah, okay. Let's start with toilet, which is probably the clearest and most widely understood word in the United States.
But even that can shift in meaning. In some places, the toilet means the fixture itself. In others, it can mean the whole room.
In American English, saying the toilet can sound a little clinical or a little blunt. Not offensive, just more direct than, say, bathroom or restroom.
In many other English speaking places, though, where's the toilet is completely normal.
So, one of the simplest terms, my friends, is also one of the easiest ways to sound slightly out of region.
Now I want to turn our attention to the word bathroom. In the United States, bathroom is probably the default. Wouldn't you say, Dr. Weaver?
Yeah, even when there's no bath in it.
Or no shower, or God forbid enough space to turn around without hitting the paper towel dispenser.
Ouch. Still, bathroom works because it sounds clean and domestic. It avoids naming the actual function directly.
And of course, it has expanded beyond its literal meaning. A public bathroom in a gas station may contain no bath, no comfort, and no reason for optimism.
But you're quite right, Dr. Weaver. Then there's another term, restroom. That's another very common American term, especially in public places.
Which is also not literal. If you're going there to rest, that means something has gone quite wrong.
Yeah, it has a public, polite, institutional tone. Airports, restaurants, offices, and theaters are like resting places, huh?
It's one of those words designed to smooth over the subject.
Let's talk about the term washroom. Now, washroom is common in Canada, and it does appear elsewhere too.
Again, the focus shifts away from the main event and toward the respectable follow up.
That's a very classic strategy. Do not name the bodily function, name the hand washing that happens after so you can forget about it.
And then we have the loo, which many Americans strongly associate with Britain.
Short, casual, and widely understood.
When I was in Australia, and a very nice gentleman came up to me, "Are you looking for the loo, mate?" The exact origin of the word is debated, which is often common with everyday slang. People like neat stories about words, but the real history is often messier.
Lou has the advantage of sounding informal without being especially crude.
Yeah, then there is the more formal or older set, the lavatory, the WC, and the water closet,
Lavatory sounds official, like a Catholic school. It's an old fashioned word or it's specific to transportation, trains, and airlines.
Well, really, it sounds like a word wearing a tie.
Gee, WC stands for water closet, which comes from the period when indoor plumbing made it useful to distinguish the small room from the flushing fixture.
That's a good idea, Dr. Weaver. You still see the phrase WC on signs in some countries and hotels and in older buildings.
And now we get to the crapper.
Which is blunter, more slangy, and for many people, very familiar.
It is often linked to Sir Thomas Crapper, a British plumber from Northern Ireland whose surname makes him impossible to forget.
Now, I want to make an important clarification here. He did not invent the flush toilet.
Right. He was a real plumber and businessman associated with bathroom fixtures and plumbing improvements. But the idea that he personally invented the toilet is one of those popular stories that survives because the name is just too perfect.
It definitely is, Dr. Weaver, which means crapper is one of those terms, there are many, where history and wordplay have fused into something people repeat whether or not they know the details.
And frankly, if your last name is Crapper, the language is always going to do something with that. It's like you're cursed.
Hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of names do not describe the function at all. They describe who uses that room.
The ladies' room, the men's room, the gents.
These can sound polite, dated, or slightly theatrical, depending on the setting.
They avoid the awkward part by pointing to the door label instead of the bodily function.
Then you get the really broad euphemisms like the facilities, the necessary, as they said in 1776, or the conveniences.
Yeah. Can you tell me where the facilities are? Well, that always sounds like you're requesting access to a municipal control center.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
These terms can show how far people will go to avoid being direct.
Apparently, English speakers will create an entire layer of euphemism and abstraction before simply saying, "I need to pee."
Oh, yeah. And we have to say here, too, this room is not simply just for moving your bowels or your bladder.
Hmm. It's also the standard place where people go when they need to vomit.
Which makes practical sense. It has a toilet, a sink, running water, and usually a door you can lock while you pray for relief and question your recent decisions.
Yeah, and pray for forgiveness, too, on some of them, right, Dr. Deneen?
Right.
It's also the place that people go when they need privacy for other minor crises, fixing clothing, checking a stain, taking a breath, hiding from a bad conversation, or discovering that the restaurant lighting was kinder than the mirror.
Uh huh. Check out the Mirror podcast to see what that's about. So, the bathroom is serving multiple social and biological purposes at once.
Quite so. I didn't realize till we began researching this that it's also about regional identity and social signals. What you call this room can also signal where you're from.
or where you learned your English.
Yes, bathroom, restroom, washroom, loo, and toilet all carry regional weight. Sometimes age and formality also.
People notice this the most while they're traveling. You ask for the bathroom, someone answers with the toilet, and nobody is confused, but everybody learns something.
That's right. It's one of those tiny language choices that quietly carries a lot of social information.
Yeah, these names keep shifting because embarrassment keeps shifting.
What happens is a term starts as polite, then it becomes ordinary, then maybe it starts to sound too plain, so people replace it with something even softer.
And that softer word eventually becomes normal too.
The same pattern shows up around death, sex, illness, and money.
Human beings are very inventive when we are trying to be tactful.
Or when we're trying not to say, I'm about to throw up. Where's the nearest crapper?
A sentence with a lot of range.
So the room itself, friends, is simple. The vocabulary around it is not.
What people call it depends on region, formality, setting, and how directly they want to refer to bodily functions.
Which is why one language ends up with toilet, bathroom, restroom, washroom, loo, laboratory, WC, water closet, crapper, ladies' room, men's room, and a long list of other options.
We covered the object in our early episode on toilets, folks.
This one was about the verbal detour around the room.
And the fact that it is not just for peeing and pooping. Sometimes it's also the designated place for vomiting with urgency and dignity, or at least urgency.
We could go on, folks, but I think we've covered it well, so that's it for this episode of Things You Don't Know.
See you next time.
Wash your hands and tell us what expression you may prefer. Bye for
Leave
now.
a like and a comment also.